Alright guys, welcome to the second video of the Advanced 1 course, or the Advanced 1 section of the course, whichever you want to call it. So ideally, what this video is going to go over is basically comparing quote-unquote retail ideology compared to ideology that we trade. And I'm not going to call it institutional or none of that. I think that's stupid. I think it sounds retarded. And that's actually probably one of the first things I'm going to talk about. Is there's this saying that goes around, and it's that there's this style, so-called institutional trading, trade with the banks. It's just stuff like that, and it's, for one, it really aggravates me just because it's very misleading, and it's two is like I said previous video, why would you want to learn how to trade with the banks when there's a whole other entity that we can learn about, but unfortunately there's not much information out there on that. But it's just like institutional trading, trade with the banks, those, whenever you hear stuff like that, just stay away from it. It's all meant for marketing. Like, honestly, it's all meant for just building your quote-unquote team or all that stuff. So I want you guys to just avoid that. If anybody calls themselves institutional traders, they're most likely full of shit, honestly. So just avoid that stuff. It's just ignore those people. They're just, honestly, they're toxic. But now coming back into this is understanding, our way of thinking in comparison to a retail quote unquote way of thinking is have you ever basically had a trade, right? And it hits your SL, and as soon as that happens, it flies. Right? It's very common. All of us have gone through it. I promise you, all of us have gone through it. And that's just because these markets, they're created to the point where you aren't meant to win. And here I have like a nice little example. But before that, it's just like, first off, I do want to tell you, every single strategy in the book works. Whether you trade Elliott Wave, whether you trade support resistance, whether you trade MMM, whether you trade ICT style, whether you trade just any style, every style works, right? And the second you really humble yourself and truly understand that, it really opens your eyes on a lot of stuff, because it really humbles you to where it eliminates your ego in this market. And it just shows you that as long as you know your rules, you can achieve anything in this markets. And so yeah, just always remember that every single strategy works. I'm not going to sit here and say this strategy is better than any other strategy in the book, just because, for one, I don't believe that's true. Two, it's just like anybody with a good trading plan that's disciplined enough to follow it will more than likely profit in the market, which is why this is more so psychology based, but it also helps to have, really good technicals. So yeah, and honestly, if you were to ask me why I trade this way in comparison to other ways, is not because, like I said, it's not better than any other system, but I'm a full believer that risk to reward is something that's massive in this game. So this style allows me to maximize that, right? Maximize the amount of reward that I get, as well as just being able to risk almost nothing for massive gains, right? So just as an example here, like, you're literally, this red box here, you're thinking, oh, this is a support, or this is my demand zone. So as soon as I get any type of reaction here, like I see here, wick rejections, quote unquote, I'm gonna long this, and I'm gonna put my stop loss under these lows, these previous lows, because this is my demand level, right? So how come price had to spike down and then it went in the right direction, right? Obviously my target would be up here or anything like that. All right, how come price came back, knocked us out, took out liquidity, and then went the opposite direction? That's something a lot of people truly can't understand. And even from this time frame, you can see there's nothing there, nothing to offer. But when we start zooming in, and I'm just going to do this to save time, is I see a candle of interest for me. This is my candle of interest, and this is something that we call a sponsored candle, which is what we're going to get into in this section, probably within the next 2-3 videos. But yeah, just to cut it, price reacted from the zone, and so the real setup wasn't in buying this. It wasn't in buying that. It was actually waiting for that setup, and you can minimize your risk because the zone is so small. So now that same target, instead of it being 9-to-1 risk reward, it's 43 risk reward. And what you want to know, just take out of this, is the fact that this is, if you can understand how these quote-unquote manipulations, how these quote-unquote stop hunts go, that is the whole, that's the whole point. You want to catch those quick wicks, because usually if they're correct, they're gonna react immediately, like it did here. Right, like I promise you, this wasn't here for more than a minute max. Right, and now you see that basically price reacted from there, and by now your stops are break even. So now, instead of having that previous entry and hitting SL, you now not only make that SL potential profit now, but you also get a precise entry. And that precision is exactly what you should be looking for, right? And that's just personally what I believe, right? I personally believe that these zones here, they don't provide that type of accuracy or precision in the market, right? Whereas if this is so specific to where you can make this literally, crazy. Like from 50% of that, that's literally 15 pips stop on gold. That's insane, because gold fluctuates hundreds of pips a day. See, like this little range here is 380 pips. So yeah, guys, just think about that. Just remember, all strategies work, but I just prefer doing it like this because I know that the risk reward is what I look for, and this helps me, pursue that. So yeah, guys.